down the line, and some kind of a comparison last year versus this number, so you can see where your savings have been, what your expenses have been. I'm just used to seeing a report like that, and I'm confused with some of the questions that were asked. You know, are we going to cut off? And I understand that, but there's no real picture. And where's this real picture?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any other? Yes, ma'am. Identify yourself.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Kathleen Custer. I'm the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1576 president. Although I know that you were in compliance with the RCW by putting our labor representative on the board, I do want to extend my appreciation and my gratitude to all of you for welcoming him so graciously at the board meeting on the 13th. So thank you all for that. And in February, we did certify the drivers and the dispatchers here within our union. And I just want you all to know, in case Ken didn't get a chance to tell you, we will be entering our first set of contract labor negotiations next week. I think Tuesday through Thursday, I think is what we've got scheduled. So I look forward to opening those bargaining sessions with the agency. So thank you for that. And during our the special meeting on the 13th, I had asked during public comment for a few questions that I didn't think were really answered. And one of them, this is in relationship to the Route 411. One of the questions that I had asked, and I had since gotten the information to those questions about what the total out-of-pocket expenses were that Island Transit paid over the last couple of years to operate the 35% match, because the government paid 65%, Island Transit paid 35%. Did you all get any of that information as well? It was emailed to me, so I appreciate that email, Robin. Thank you. Okay, so I don't see anybody nodding their head, so I assume you didn't get it. Oh, you did get it. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So, I know I've only got 3 minutes. I realize I don't have 15. If you give me 15, I'll take 15.
You got 3.
I got 3 minutes.
Guaranteed.
So what I'm asking the board to do is to really consider this. So I see that, just for an example, for 2013, the total cost to operate the Route 411 at the 13 trips for Whidbey and 9 trips for Camino was $1,396,590. The 35% that Island Transit was paying out of their pocket for that same year, 2013, was $588,412. And as I'm looking at the proposal that was put before you on the 13th, Proposal 1, I'm just going to use Proposal 1 as an example, reducing those trips from 13 to 3 on Whidbey and from 9 trips to 3 on Camino, the total out-of-pocket proposed expense annually is only $143,547. So I'm wondering, where's the rest of the money going? And I would ask that the board consider, if Island Transit was paying $588,412 out of pocket, why couldn't we continue to pay approximately the same amount and increase that service? Maybe it needs to be reduced, but maybe not so much. So I would ask that you would take that into consideration. Does that make sense? Did I get everybody's?
And I'm going to answer this right now. This is also has kind of morphed into an agenda item.
Exactly, right.
So we'll get an opportunity to address your questions.
Okay.
We'll give another opportunity to talk.
Okay.
For 3 minutes through that.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss my, I'm sort of new to this process here with the agency, so I just didn't want to miss my opportunity there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, Dan Brown. I talked recently to Sean's counterpart over in Port Townsend, and they issue cell phones to the operators for their daily job that will help them in safety and emergencies when they run into a dead area. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And they turn in the cell phone when they turn in at night. And the other thing is, I recently had noticed that there's no garbage cans going down the island anymore. And if you're gonna run a business up and down the island, it's your responsibility to have garbage cans out there for the public. The garbage blows out from underneath the area there, and you know, your guys come in and they clean up that area, but they don't go across the street where the stuff blew, you know, and it's ridiculous. And that's, I don't see that saving money. This is a beautiful county. And we're all going green. And now, with Island Transit doing this, now we're going brown, you know? So I don't understand what's going on with that, and you can't be saving that much money. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, I see managers over here. Sean, how many managers?
Please address your, Mr. Brown, please address your comments to the board.
The board, okay.
And not to the staff, and we would also appreciate it if you would refrain from pointing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The staff, okay, thank you.
I'm curious on, IT, I heard, has 2 managers in that department. And I'm wondering why they have 2 managers. And that's all I have to say for right now.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Mishler. I'm a resident of Camino Island and also a 19-year Island Transit employee. One of the things I hope you consider when you look at the 411s and what you're going to do with that is remember the folks on Camino have no access to a hospital. We have very limited medical facilities on the island. Most of our folks are going to Mount Vernon or to Everett. If they're going to Everett and have to take the routes now, it's well over an hour trip. The 411 right now also ferries a fair number of folks for Snohomish County DART, that we act as a pickup point in Stanwood for them, and they continue on to Mount Vernon to various doctor's appointments in Mount Vernon. You know, we have no veteran services on the island. Everybody from the island has to go to either Everett or Mount Vernon. Again, local trips to Everett right now at best is an hour and a half. And if we do away with the 411, you won't have any ability to go north. So just, you know, those are some basic concerns that we have that I hope you all take into consideration.
And again, I'm going to remind people, this is an agenda item, and I didn't realize that we were going to morph into 411. So if anybody else want to talk about 411, you'll get a chance to talk about 411. Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? Seeing none, looks like we just saved about 8 minutes. Oh, excuse me.
It's okay. I caught you while you were turning your head.
I thought you were the gazebo.
Yep, still. Gail Zocco Kirk. I would just like to clarify something that I had said last at the workshop, which seemed to upset some members when I was talking about the hostile work environment here. It was not in regards to Mr. Graska or Paul Arand. However, it is the rest of the management staff that continues, everybody at that table, ITs, a couple of them in the back, that are responsible for, let me put it this way, I volunteered as a sexual assault and domestic violence advocate for over 15 years with the military. 6 of those were here in this island that I volunteered for. I'm very well trained in hostile work environments and everything else. And what's coming out of this building is one of the most horrific situations I have ever seen. And until this work environment is taken care of and you start taking care of your employees that matter, it can't move forward. It can't. You don't see many of the other employees here that are allowed to come here and speak. Because if they do, they get retaliated against in some way or manner. And it's horrendous. That's all I have to say with that.
Okay, thank you for your comments. The request is for legal to respond to that comment.
I mean, we have a process in place that would deal with hostile work environment, right? There's a complaint process where employees are represented by a union. The process would be that they would go to their union representatives and they they would contact management, and then there would be an investigation into those claims. So it's not something that would be tolerated in the process that we have in place, correct?
Absolutely not.
Thank you for your comments. And we have one more. At least one more.
Thanks
We
for
still
allowing me
have
to
time.
speak. My name is Charlene Hubbard. I'm a resident of Island County, 18-plus years. And I was an employee here for 12 and a half years. So I have to say that from my experience and the position I had in observing the culture and the goings-on at Island Transit, I'd have to comment that this person that I do not know has a very valid point. But that's not why I want to speak today. What I also heard, this is my first opportunity to attend. I promised myself that if I ever had the opportunity to attend one of these board meetings and I didn't fear reprisal from it, that I would come. So I'm just beginning, so I'm sure you've all done good work since the transition and since last fall. I'm not aware of all of it, so please forgive me if I'm going over something that isn't appropriate. I'm nervous. But what I heard earlier, and what I certainly feel myself as not being a financial wizard, is the public deserves transparency in your financial dealings in a way that they can compare, even if it's a 3-month lag time, as this gentleman sort of alluded to, that we can really compare where we are now versus where we were. This board, and not you necessarily personally, but the board and the former management was very good at making it so difficult and keeping it all within Island Transit that nobody either asked, because I believe this board failed in their responsibility to adequately be stewards of the people of Island Transit, their tax dollars. And this company failed to steward those tax dollars well, and that was obviously by what happened. I lost my job, lots of people lost their jobs. So we owe it to the residents of Island County who have supported and built what really is a great system, and a great fare-free system, which gives it a democratic appeal to everybody. We deserve to be transparent, so my long-winded speech here is please come up with a way of making it easy for the average person to understand, even if it's a 3-month lag, where you are now versus where you were. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hubbard, for your comments. I'm going to comment to that just for a moment, too. We are looking for ways to improve our reporting, and there is a balance between complying with state requirements for reporting and generally accepted accounting principles, and please don't be offended when I say we can only report based on certain protocols. We can't necessarily dumb it down to a level that everybody can understand who have not had any experience in particularly the transit facility here, but even at the city and state levels and stuff like that. You know, I have worked with a number of fairly large budgets and projects where I've had skin in the game. I understand that pretty well. I have a fairly steep learning curve looking at the format that Island Transit has. I have a pretty good understanding of how Carter's financial statement goes because I've been at it for a while. So we're trying to make this so that people can really understand it, and I think Mr. Freeman had a very good idea that we can have scales, even if it's on the graph basis, about where we were last year at this time, where we are today. I know those formats are available for presenting that way, and we're going to work on that too, because we have to present that in the city. And also in my private life, I had to forecast every single job, every single month, knowing what my end line was going to be, what my obligations were, and what I had spent to date, and where the money was coming from to get to where I have to go. So I know this board is really working on being transparent, and it's not just a word, it's actually an action, it's a culture. And I can't speak to the culture that existed in Island Transit before, but I have a lot of confidence in the people who I'm working with right now. And I never have felt that when I ask questions of any of them, either publicly or privately, that they are hiding something or they're not sure about what they're doing, so they kind of scramble the numbers a little bit. That's my comment to that. Any other comments here? You want to comment to that?
Well, we have a graph that we're using right now that you can parallel between 2014 and 15 operating capital expenses. And then one of the things that I was trying to do by clarifying the difference between the accrual and the cash report with Paul was that those are the types of questions for the public to look at also when they're looking at those two different reports. So the trends of when you look like you're booking too many expenses, when your accrual looks a lot higher on outflows than your cash flow looks, that would be a time to say, wait a second, why are they booking so many things versus how many things are getting paid out? Or as he was saying, you know, why are revenues coming in and sitting and not seeing that in a fund balance? So the difference between the cash and the accrual is the story that you want to look at a little bit. And so it's not, and then there was the question about when do you know for sure that everything balances? And when you, on an accrual basis, you know for sure when you shut the doors. When you shut the doors and your last bill's paid and you'll all line up. So you can do some year-end reviews, but it's an ongoing, ever-moving organization. And so there's not necessarily that point in time moment where you can balance your checkbook to treasurers, and that's what the cash flow report does, and that's what we all are used to. But that moment of, you know, I still have expenses I've accrued out there that are not reflected in my checkbook, and you won't know whether I came out ahead or not until I'm dead and someone else has to pay my visa. Yeah, the visa's a problem.
I'm going to tag in on that for just a second. And would it be possible to PowerPoint these reports? I know that they are online. This is online. And, you know, when somebody just comes into this cold and really can't understand it, but at these meetings, when we do the financial report, maybe it would be helpful to PowerPoint those things onto the screen. And it might demonstrate what you're doing graphically and by numbers. We'll give that some consideration.
Okay, we'll consider that.
Does that make sense? All right, any other public comments? We are out of public comment time, so I guess there aren't going to be any for right now. Thank you very much for your comments. We're going to go on to the financial report. Is there anything to tag on to that one that we haven't already covered?
Well, only to highlight that the cash balance at the end of March continues to be a very positive number, over $1 million. And that I think answers part of the question that was asked earlier. Is there some way to compare? What we are comparing against is our current budget, and we are running below budget by $214,000 at the end of March. So that's a cumulative 3-month below budget number. And that's, I think, very encouraging. That indicates a combination of fuel cost savings, which are significant to date. And we'll hear more about that, I think, in further discussion. We've also had other savings against budget, and therefore, in the first quarter of the year, we've saved $214,000 compared to what we had budgeted to spend. And that's encouraging. That's I think our revenues are running very close to what we projected, maybe below what we projected by a few $1,000s, but that's on a multi-million-dollar base. That's very close. So our revenues are very close to what we projected, and our expenses are well under what we projected.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator. Any comments, Paul?
Yeah, I do, because we've got, actually, with our inflows, just for example, we've got Vanpool, or actually year date, and what we budgeted what's remaining on budget. What we're showing here in the report, the actual budget report, for the remaining budget, is that figuring in the increase in the manhole costs that we just approved? Raised? Or is that going to be?
I didn't listen, so.
We just voted to raise manhole.
I think that's not in the current budget. 'Cause we
Yeah,
haven't-
that number doesn't reflect that, so
So
that
there'll be more
increase
money.
will actually be
Yeah.
shown in totals of inflows, so it's going to actually show that.
It won't affect operations because we're gonna take that extra money and we're gonna bank it.
Yeah,
It's 2/3
for ER.
Yeah, we're gonna use that excess money to fund the van purchases, which are really needed here.
Right, right.
And then other things of note are our sales taxes a little bit below projections, and so we are doing well on fuel. We're doing a little less well on sales tax, again, nothing overly concerning, but again, those are some of the trend moments to watch. And then we haven't done any outflows on we haven't had our grant inflows, but we haven't had our grant outflows either, so there'll be cash balance reductions when we pay our portion of those grants. So these are really good numbers for where we're at. We just have to make sure that we understand that it's in the context of the year of cash flow.
In the first quarter.
Well, yes, but the annual budget, we're predicting that a loss. We budgeted to have a loss, and so we're doing well, and I think we're ahead. But again, just to remember that as we pay out on those grants, we'll take a cash flow hit, and as when we pay our insurance payment, I mean, that's in October, but those things they all cycle through. So we build up a little bit to let go of some cash at a certain point.
Mr. Norton, do you have anything to add to this? We're going to move along if there's no further comment then. Operations report, and if we're talking about 411 again, let's say the operations comment on 411 until 411.
Under the operations report, Mr. Chairman, I would defer to the business items because many of the items that I want to talk about, and staff wants to talk about regarding operations are under the business items. If we could just move on to that.
Okay. Any other items here for the board that they want to discuss at this particular point? Hearing none. Down the chair's report, actually I have a request on the chair's report. I would like to make a motion that we add an executive session at the end of this meeting to discuss the interim executive director's contract and tenure, and that executive session will include legal, finance, and the board members only. I made the motion. Second. Okay, I made the motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. We will have an executive session at the end of this business week. So we're going to move on to business item number 1, communication systems, page 5, Mr. Schatz. Good to see you again, too, by the way.
You too. Thank you very much. I'm Tom Shaughnessy, and I'm the director of Island County's 911 Communications Center, more informally known as ICOM 911. I, too, am a resident of Camino Island, having lived in my current residence for over 30 years now, family having moved to Island County in 1956. I've been the director of Island County's 911 Communications Center for the last 14 years, moving to number 15 now. At Island County 911, we take the 911 calls for all of the county, including Camino. We document those calls and we dispatch those 911 calls. The dispatching of the 911 calls, of course, goes to our member agencies, being the county for the sheriff's office, Cookeville, Langley, and the city of Oak Harbor. We also dispatch for the hospital, We also dispatch for all of the fire districts within the county, and again, including Camino. And I wanted to lay all that out so you understand that indeed our services are county-wide and for all emergency services within the county. Thus, our communications is county-wide and serves everyone in the county as far as emergency services is concerned. We have an IP digital backbone that we own or lease throughout the county. Throughout the Island County, throughout Skagit County, it goes all the way over to Jefferson County, down into Kitsap County, over to Snohomish County, and back again. We manage and maintain this with our 2 radio techs and the engineer that we employ there at ICOM. We have multiple transmit sites throughout the county and surrounding counties. And when I say multiple, I'm going to say probably 15 to 18 sites. What I would offer is that we'll go ahead and put a PowerPoint together and bring that to the board so the board can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then we'll go ahead and we'll be happy to meet with again with Sean and with Ken to discuss what the possibilities as far as what ICOM can do for transit. As I understand transit and your communications, you have one transmit site located at Lyman Hill over in Skagit County. It's a single frequency, it's a single transmitter. It's broken down into 4 basic channels. Again, it's one frequency, 4 channels, so indeed, if an individual is talking on one channel, they're really and truly interfering with someone else who's talking on the other channel. And it's not a safe or secure operation. I believe that we at ICOM can help with that. We've actually been in discussion with Transit and with some of the Transit employees, specifically the 2 IT employees, Judd and Gary, who are standing over here, for the last probably 3 years. So Judd and Gary are familiar with ICOM. They are familiar with our backbone. They're familiar with what we do. We did meet with Ken and Sean just earlier this week, I believe it was Tuesday this week, along with some of our ICOM staff, just to lay out some of what we can possibly do and what we can possibly look at in the future, and possibly in the near future. As I said, we at ICOM, we do serve the emergency services is our main thing with ICOM. However, because we are a public entity, we are more than interested in helping other public entities or other entities within county or city or county government. We are currently in the process of helping Island County move forward with a simulcast system for Island County Public Works. We're also in the middle of helping San Juan County with some of their radio needs. And again, we also assist Skagit County in managing and maintaining their system. So we have a good deal of experience. We have some very, very sharp individuals at ICOM who can help, who can assist, and that is the point of why I'm here today, is to indeed formally offer our assistance to Island Transit. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer those questions. Comments, fine. Again, what I would really like to do would be to put the PowerPoint together, come back at the next meeting if you would like, and we'll go ahead and we'll lay it all out as far as what we already have in place through ICOM that's currently serving the needs of all of the emergency services throughout the county.
Thank you. I would like to see the PowerPoint presentation, have a better understanding of the complexities of that. Do you have any further information you want to offer before I go to the public comments?
I really don't. This is preliminary, and we're here to help. We're here to assist. As I said, I am familiar with the limited capacity of what's in place right now and what's been in place since actually since Island County came into being, or excuse me, Island Transit came into being, so yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shaughnessy.
Sure.
Open the floor, excuse me, Mr. Brown.
I want to thank Tom for coming to our meeting this morning. I wanted to add to his comments that our involvement with ICOM, particularly since I've arrived, has been to sort out the issues and the misunderstandings and the confusion and false promises that have lingered throughout the organization over the past few years about what our system can and cannot do. And so I've taken on the task of learning more about what the system is currently capable of doing, and then also going to Tom, working with him in terms of how can we improve the system and how can we best use the resources we have to improve the system. Fortunately, we have a grant for 4 additional repeaters. And that's primarily what Tom and his staff would be working with us on, the installation and location of those repeaters. And that, in fact, is what's going to be the primary improvement in the overall system. I'm very appreciative of ICOM being able to accommodate us, and we'll be working very closely with them as the time nears that we can have those repeaters on order and available, hopefully later this year.
Is there matching on those grants?
Yes.
What, 20%?
I don't recall.
Is the matching in the budget? That's what I'm more interested in.
It's in the budget,
Okay.
yes.
We'll go to public comment right now. Anybody want to comment on this topic only for right now?
And again, Ken, I don't want to repeat everything you said.
Stand and identify yourself, please.
Kathleen Custer, HE President. This is a big concern. I was going to ask you, Mr. Shaughnessy, why, if you've had 3-year conversations, why hasn't anything been done? But I think you answered that question. So now I think it's the responsibility of the board to make sure that something is done. It's a huge safety liability with our drivers, and it's a huge liability with the agency as well. If something were to happen and you can't get any communication, no cell phone service, no radio service. So it is a major concern as far as the union's concerned. So I appreciate you putting this as a priority.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hubbard.
Charlotte Hubbard. I applaud Mr. Shaughnessy's coming and the director's what's the right word, attention to this matter. And I would request that the board also take advantage of his expertise in evaluating whether, and I like these people, but evaluating whether the 2 IT people we have are someone that are competent to carry out this position. And that would, of course, be a private matter with the board and with their things. But I think that, in my observation, in my opinion, that often people were promoted for their loyalty, for their bidability, for their attractiveness in general, not necessarily for competence. And I think that there are many questions I had, and I think other employees have, about the